I'm the creator of Rol of Fate, a unique fusion of trading card game and tabletop RPG elements. And I'm about to show this gentleman right here how to kind of run through the game.
The two that I found, I didn't find two.
All right, good.
All right, so as we were talking about before, this would be set already during pregame. You would come to the game with your pre-constructed deck that you have made out of your collection. You would have chosen your role, and these are the two pieces of equipment that you have deemed that you want to start the game with. When you start the game, everybody starts with 10 attunement. Attunement is the resource that you use to play cards. Think of it like your mana. You've chosen to equip these two pieces of equipment. One has a cost of 6, one has a cost of 3. So you'd start the game with 1 attunement. That won't matter because here in a minute we're going to go through your phases on how your turn works, and then you're going to get that attunement back. So we've already set your health at 71. That's because your base is at 66, but if you notice, your katana gives you an additional 5. So you start with 10's column 7, 71 health. It's all trackable around the playmat. The locked attunement, you'll notice that on your equipment, there's another icon that looks similar to attunement, but it's got chains wrapped around it. That is your locked attunement. Your katana reserves 3, your bleeder reserves 2, so that's going to be 5. And before the game would start, everybody would check their speed. Highest speed goes first. In the event of a tie, there's a dice roll to figure out who's next. The duelist is the fastest, so for purposes of this demo, you're player number 1. I'm not going to set the jester up because we're just going to make it easy to teach you how to play the game. Go ahead and draw 7 cards.
All right.
And normally before you start the game, you and your teammates would place your units anywhere on the back rows, but I'm just going to jump you right into combat so that way you understand how to play cards and how the game mechanics work.
I can count.
All right. So at the beginning of you'll notice down here are your phases.
All right.
You are player number 1, so phase number 1 is beginning of turn effects. You don't have any on you right now, but what those might look like is this. That ring tells you at the beginning of your turn, hey, roll some dice and heal for that amount.
Okay.
That's what a beginning of turn effect would look like.
Sure.
Next is going to be your replenishment phase. So replenishment. This is how you get your attunement back. Comes back at the beginning of your turn.
Okay.
You'll always be replenishing back to the number 10, which is what everybody started with, plus the number of the round. So if we're on round 1 starting the game, you'd replenish to 11.
There's to 11. Okay.
But you have chosen to lock 5 with your equipment, gaining all those passives and bonuses. So you would replenish back up to 6.
Okay.
On turn 16, or 6, you would replenish to 10 plus round 6, minus the 5. So on round 6, you'd have 11 available to you.
Okay, sounds
Makes
good.
sense?
So I would replenish up to 6 here.
That's correct.
All right.
Then you draw a card, sir.
Draw a card. All right. Cool.
Okay, now we're going to go into your movement phase.
Okay.
You get 2 of these. The reason you get 2 is because you're going to need to move at the beginning of the game when you're on the opposite sides.
Okay.
But I've kind of pushed you guys forward so that way we can teach you combat. But that's a good example because you don't now need your movement phase in 2, so you can skip your first movement phase, and that's what the second one is built in for. Later, when everybody's in combat, you can actually attack and get out of dodge.
All right, sounds good.
So we'll skip for now your movement phase 2, but normally, just a quick addition, your movement is that boot stat on your card right there.
So that would be a 4 then.
So you'll be able to move 4 spaces.
All right.
That's correct.
All right.
So we'll jump right into phase 3, actions and reactions.
Okay.
So here's how combat works.
All right.
You can play anything in your hand that doesn't say it is a reaction. Reactions are what your opposing team is going to play in response to something that you do.
Gotcha. Okay.
So as long as you are within range, 1, 2, 3 of your target, and we'll just move her up a little more. So as long as you're within range and you have the attunement to do so, you can keep playing cards out of your hand.
All right, so I will pay 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
2. And play this Phantom Strike.
Okay, so when you declare that you're playing Phantom Strike, this is the opponent's turn to get a chance to react to anything you're doing.
Okay.
I don't have any reactions in my hand at the moment, but what that might look like is something like this. That's when if player 4 were within range, let's say player 4 was somewhere within range of their ally, within a range of 3, they would play this card and it would let them react to what you were doing, reducing damage or
Gotcha.
True TCG style, you just follow the card text.
All right. So Phantom Strike here then, so you don't have a reaction. So
Nope.
teleport behind your target, flank if rear is unavailable, and deal, so I teleport behind you, and I'm going to deal 1 FC3 plus damage to your target.
Correct. So FC is just indicating a fate check. That's
All right.
now being, these are some older cards. That's being replaced by a new icon that's unique to Rol of Fate.
Sure.
Just tells people, hey, when you see the numbers flanking the fate check icon, it's telling you how many dice to roll and the sides of the dice to roll.
Gotcha.
So you'd basically be rolling a fate check 3, so you roll a 6 and half it.
All right.
Okay, so that is a 6. So you
All right.
would now keep that on the board. You're attacking from behind.
Yep.
I'm sorry. You're attacking from behind, so you actually get an additional
Ooh.
6-sided dice and damage.
Lovely.
So,
Oh boy, I'm going to do some big damage here.
So,
So
now
that's 9.
So that's 9.
And then it's plus my damage, which is going to be here, which is 4, and that's modified by another 4 and another 4.
Correct. So
All right.
you're dealing 9 plus 12.
Plus 12. All
So
right.
you would deal 21 total points of
21
damage to your
points of
opponent.
damage. Nice.
Now your opponent now says, okay, I wasn't able to react to that, but your opponent now has physical defense.
Okay.
So you're hitting them for 21 physical. It will
Right.
get reduced by 2. So in turn, they would now take 19.
Okay. Okay. All right. Fairly so.
is
So
low.
then I have 2. I still have 2 attunements.
Still
I
have
can
2.
keep.
That goes to your discard.
This goes to my discard here. So I'm gonna discard that. So then I will also do a precision strike.
Okay.
Deal 1 FC damage to your target. This ignores 1 point of your target's defense.
Okay.
All right, so 1 FC4, and is that the that's the D4? Okay, there we go. So 1 again plus the 12,
Correct.
so 13.
So it'll be 13, and it will only get reduced by 1 this time because
Yes.
that ignores 1. So they would take 12. 1, 2,
Yes.
12 points of damage.
All right.
Don't forget the additional 6 from behind.
Okay, nice. All right, so now 3 more.
They would take an additional 3.
All right, sounds good. All right, and that uses the last of my attunement.
Correct. And so just to cover like quick highlights,
All right.
you'll notice that this card says specialization bow.
Sure.
If for whatever reason you had a bow equipped, you would gain that additional card text.
Gotcha. That's what I was about to ask that. Makes sense.
Specialization doesn't always have to do with a weapon. Sometimes it's roll based, sometimes it's armor based. It can be based
Sure.
on anything.
If you've got certain pieces of equipment, you're going to get
That's
that
correct.
bonus. Okay.
You got it, man.
All right. So then I finish my actions and reactions,
Yes,
right?
sir.
We go to next phase movement.
Correct.
And again, I've got 4 movements, so I could do something like, okay, now that I'm 1, 2, 3, like I'm gonna back off out of you.
Now
and
you're getting
try
out
to
of
get out of
combat.
range. Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Then it goes to your end
End
step.
of turn.
End of turn effects, which this character doesn't have any
Okay.
right now, but it would normally be
Yeah,
sometimes.
if you
it
had
can
some
be a
piece of
heal.
equipment or something, or yeah, okay.
So the key with end of turn effects is debuffs also fall off at the end of turn. So
Gotcha.
let's say you're poisoned.
Okay.
And it's dealing 2 damage to you at the end of your turn.
Sure.
You take your 2 poison damage, the ailment then wipes itself.
Sure. All right.
Now we move to your discard step, which if you're over 10 cards in your hand.
All right.
If you have
I'm
over
not.
10, you discard down to 10. Last is your directional face, and that's
All right.
because you don't want to get back attacked like what just happened.
Yeah. So in this case, I'm going to just stay where I'm at
Exactly.
because I don't need to do that. All right.
Guys, that is how Rol of Fate plays in its entirety, minus the nuances. It's all about how players take their role and how they build with their equipment on how the builds come together to make their teams work.
All right. Interesting. Well,
Nice.
I'm gonna.
So go ahead, thank you again, and tell us real quick where you're from or how they can find you.
So I'm originally from Texas down here, but I live in Omaha, Nebraska now. You can check me out on the website, rof.gg is the website. On the website, Discord is at the bottom of the page. Come into Discord. You guys can watch me illustrate. Talk to me during any time you see me in there. And then I also do a developer summit once every 2 months where I do basically an open Q&A where people can ask questions and I kind of fill them in on where the game's headed.
Hey, thanks so much.
Thanks a lot.